city boy my whole life. Born and raised in Melbourne, I've never lived anywhere else. I love this city. The people, the tall buildings, the suburbs, the cafes, the music, everything. In Melbourne, the annual show is an institution. Of course, annual shows are beloved all across Australia. You know it's coming when winter is over and springtime is gearing up, the flowers are starting to bloom, trees are sprouting new foliage, and insects are coming out of hiding. It means it's time for the farmers and cattle drovers to show off the fruits of their year's labour. Now, I've been lax in my attendance over the years. I remember frequenting the show in my youth, riding the roller coasters, stuffing my face with fairy floss, feeding the animals, and demanding Bertie Beetles. I loved it then, but adulthood has caught me early, and I've been too busy with responsibilities to have any sort of fun. This year I'm going to fix it. This year I'm going to go to the Melbourne show, see what it's all about, and experience as much as I can, and just be a kid again, if only for a little while. As I walk through the station entrance to the Melbourne showgrounds, my eyes are dazzled by the colours, my nose is blasted with the cloying sense of hot sugar from fairy floss and melted butter from popcorn. My ears are blasted with a cacophony of music and laughter. I feel like I'm 12 years old again. I can't help but grin ear to ear like all the other attendees. I instantly begin to flow with the crowd moving through the carnival, trying to decide what to do first. Behind me is the Claw, the Southern Hemisphere's largest portable ride. A circle of people is slowly spun around before an arm lifts them into the air and spins them in a full arc of what looks like 40 meters. I think I'm just going to get my face painted like Spider-Man. I wander past carnival games. I've never been good at them, but the prices look so great. I see a Kermit the Frog that's almost as tall as I am, and would look great in my room with all my other plushies. I think I'll give it a shot. When I was near the entrance, I would have said it's impossible, but the crowd has got even denser, and I discovered that my feet have brought me to the set of MasterChef. I had no idea it was filmed here. It's impossible to mistake the set and the logos, so there's no doubt such an iconic show was filmed here. I stroll inside the building and find Victoria's finest and fanciest wines and cheeses on display, just waiting to be tasted. Leaving the winning taste pavilion, I find a couple of paddocks of the most adorable animals of every breed. And wait, what's that over there? Well, that's strange. It's called the China as a Great Nation Pavilion. There's all these booths showcasing the agricultural exports of China, textiles, homewares, and technologies. I think I need to investigate. So, first off, I guess, can I get your name and your role with the Royal Agricultural Society of Victoria?
Yeah, so my name's Michaela Gaskell and I'm the Communications Manager at RASV.
Okay, and how did you get into working for the RASV?
So I've got a background in public relations and communications, but I've worked across a number of industries. So started off working in corporate comms consultancy, then moved into sport, working for the soccer, and then education, worked at Monash and Deakin. Then Target was the National Public Relations Manager there, and then just saw this role and wanted to try a different industry, and knew that the show was such a major event and sort of part of Melbourne's culture, so I really wanted to get involved in it, and it's so varied, so it's quite an interesting role that we've got here.
Cool. So, suppose, what is the show? How do we define it?
Yeah, so the show's been running for 160 years, and over that time, really the purpose of the show hasn't changed. So it really is to promote and celebrate excellence in agriculture and support the agricultural industry, which is really important in Victoria. It's worth about $11.6 billion in exports alone, and employs about 150,000 people. So for us, it's about showcasing that and connecting those rural communities with urban communities who may not have been exposed to agriculture and farming before, and also being able to explain to people in the inner city the importance of agriculture to everyday life. So obviously all of our food and drink comes from agriculture and horticulture and aquaculture, and so being able to sort of explain to people this is where your food comes from and these are the people who grow it is a really important part of the show, and that's really how it started, and that's what its purpose is still today.
Is it important to keep the show relevant then, somehow? Like, it seems like we're still stuck in the past. Like, here are all the greatest sheep we have, here's the greatest grain.
Yeah, so I guess the challenge for us is being able to, and what has probably happened more recently, is combining those traditional things that everybody loves about the show and has loved about the show for years with the expectations of a modern contemporary audience. And probably the way that we've really done that well over the last few years has been the food offering. So the food offering's really changed at the show to now we have pop-up restaurants from some of Melbourne's best chefs and eateries, and so we offer that real point of difference and that modern offering when it comes to food. But there's also an expectation from people that come to the show that we will have those traditional things. So they do still want to see the animal competitions, and they want to see the rural people. So it's a real challenge for us to still have those traditional elements, but make sure that the show is relevant to today's audience and that we still get people coming along.
With the changing landscape of jobs and industry in Melbourne, do you feel it's still important to showcase the agricultural side of Victoria?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for this, when you're talking statewide particularly, it's actually increased. Our agricultural exports have increased over the last couple of years. So it's an industry that's actually burgeoning. There's a stat around the fact that by 2020 or 2025, I think it is, that the food required for the world will actually increase by about 70%. So there will always be a demand for that, and Victoria in particular is in a really good position to be able to capitalise on that. So we think agriculture will always be relevant and always be really important, and I think it's also a good chance for people in the city who aren't exposed to it. This is probably their only time of year to actually be part of this and to see it up close.
This year specifically, what have you done differently to every other year the show's been on?
Yeah, so we've actually found out that what people mostly want to see is our point of difference, and that's to see animals and interact with animals, particularly families. This is often the first time that a child will see a farm animal, particularly kids that live in inner city and suburbs. So we've expanded that area. So we doubled that in size this year. We've obviously expanded to the food offering. We've doubled the size of the Winning Taste Pavilion, which obviously showcases a lot of the Melbourne restaurants and eateries. And we've also improved our entertainment this year. So we have got Sony stars on stage every day. We've got a high dive act that's on, which is probably a throwback to a bit of traditional show entertainment, but it's been updated for a modern audience. But we've also just increased the exposure of the traditional events. So our wood chopping has a record number of entries, as does the horse competition. So there's a lot of that traditional activity that's happening this year that we've also expanded. But when you look at what people are coming for too, we've obviously got the rides and show bags, and those are all, we've got a number of new rides this year and about 100 new show bags on offer as well.
When I was walking around, I found myself in an entire pavilion dedicated to the agricultural exports of China, and that was very surprising to me. So why has that been included in the show this year?
Yeah, so obviously export is a critical part of agriculture, and as mentioned, we export about $11.6 billion from Victoria every year, and a lot of that goes to China. They are a key partner for agriculture and really important to the agricultural industry. So it was a good opportunity for us to work with them, to work with a number of businesses and investors from China and bring them over here to show them the show, but also to showcase China as an important partner. And so offer show visitors an opportunity to sort of see into their culture and tourism and their manufacturing and what businesses they run over there. But it also was an opportunity for us to speak to people who have come to live in Melbourne from China, and for them to feel as though they're part of the show and welcomed into the show. So there was probably a number of reasons why we did it. It's also, we had a Australia Business China Council forum on the Wednesday, so it was a good opportunity for those delegates that came over for that to also be part of the show.
What does the future hold for the show? What improvements can you see happening? What new institutions can you see popping up?
Yeah, so we're constantly reviewing the show after each year, and we'll do that again this year, to look at what is of interest to people, what worked, what maybe didn't work, or what could be improved.
I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the sister show that you're planning on having based on the Melbourne show in China.
Yeah, so
that's going to happen?
Yeah. It's a very, very early discussion at this stage. So we're always looking at opportunities to expand the show, appeal to international markets, and obviously to be able to sell the Victorian agricultural product into overseas investors and that sort of thing. So it's been in a very initial discussion at this stage, and that will continue to see whether that's an option or what else we can potentially do to partner with international similar sort of societies to us, so that we can sort of tell that global message a bit better. But it'll be interesting to see what happens at this stage. It's nothing set in stone, so it's still a bit of an ongoing discussion.
I'll definitely keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to get involved to help put the show on as a production, how would I go about doing that?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways that people can get involved in the show. Obviously, we employ around 60 full-time staff throughout the year, but that increases significantly over the show with contractors, with customer service staff. We also have around 1,500 volunteers who are part of the show every year, and volunteers are critical to the show. We wouldn't be able to put it on without that generous contribution. So that's probably the first initial way to get involved in the show, is to actually volunteer. And you can just do that through the Royal Show website, and that's probably the first way to get exposure into the event, and that often leads to either employment or working for a contractor or those sorts of things to get involved. But that's probably the first best way to get to be part of the show.
Fantastic. And last question for you: what is your favourite attraction at this year's show? If you had the opportunity to get out and see any of it.
Look, I have managed to wander around over the last couple of days, but probably for me, I'm an animal lover, and I do love going to see the animals, and I do particularly love going to see the cattle judging. I just think that they're the people that are involved in it, but also to see these animals that are so docile, so tame. They love to be patted. They're all the different breeds are great to look at. So for me, I could probably sit in that livestock pavilion and watch that all the time. I like to watch the rides. I'm not one that goes on rides. And the other one for me is the food. It's just the food at the show now is just so outstanding that we just wait all year for the show to come on as staff, so that we can have 11 days of just amazing food, and even over 11 days you still can't get around to it all. So they're probably the things that I just absolutely love about Showtime.
That's great to hear that such opportunities are available to young people, and that the show is expanding the horizons of what it can deliver to the attendees, even the audience that a show like this can have. The show is expanding the experiences it can deliver to its ever-changing and diverse audience. Oh hey, a petting zoo! I'm gonna feed some animals and learn about their care at the Jayco Animal Nursery. It is busy in here, and I mustn't forget to wash my hands before I leave the pavilion. I'm getting pretty hungry. There's tons of food trucks all over the place, but the best pop-up food vendors are in the Woolworths Fresh Food Pavilion in the center of the showgrounds. The food here is reasonably priced, and there's such a huge range of cuisine to choose from. If you are strapped for cash, the savvy attendee can always find a free meal in all the samples offered by the merchants here. While I'm eating the fanciest hot dog I've ever eaten, seriously, this thing is laden with pickles and sauerkraut and sauce. It's great. I'm going to camp out in the stands and watch some of the equestrian events. I might not know what's going on, but man, can those horses dance. Wait, I think I hear something. It's the Looney Tunes! There's a big grass paddock here. Lots of families are picnicking here. You can stretch out on the grass and watch what happens when there is no teacher in the Looney Tunes Classroom Capers live show.
Play with no teacher around. Lunch looks like it's coming early.
I don't like the way you're looking at me, pretty cat.
Whoa!
Okay, class, settle down, settle down. As school captain, oh, I love saying that, I think it is my duty in times of crisis to step to the fore and remind us of why we are all here.
No spoilers though.
That's all, folks.
Now, according to my map and schedule, there's even more animals to see and hear about. There's the sheep shearers, the horse trainers, and the canine agility show. Can I get your name, please?
Darren Smith.
Yeah. And what do? You shear sheep for a living?
Yes, and a shearer trainer.
Yeah. And where do you operate out of?
Narracourt, South Australia.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Sheep shearing is a business that fascinates me because there's only a limited amount of technology you can use to update it. Like,
Yes.
the mechanical shears are it. You can't get a robot to do a man's job.
Every sheep's different.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
What we just saw, that was your demonstration?
Yep, yeah, we do that 3 times a day at the show. Yep.
And is this your first year at the show?
My 4th.
Fourth year?
Yeah.
Bona fide, bona fide veteran.
Yes.
And you enjoy doing all the demonstrations and showing the kids
Yeah,
up?
nice. You see the people from the city, they never get to see this sort of thing, so it's really good for them to see it.
And very educational.
Yeah, some of the history.
Yeah, it's great to know.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so did you say your record for a day shearing?
Mine was over 400, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, last question. What's your favorite attraction at this year's show?
My favourite attraction?
If
I've
you
seen
get out-
so much of it over the years already. I'm not real sure.
That's right. You just enjoy.
Trying to think.
Just enjoy the people.
Yes, I enjoy the people and all the attractions. They're all pretty good. It's always the same. It's all pretty good.
Can I just get your name?
Yes, it's Adam Battaglia.
Yeah, and what do you do at the Melbourne show?
At the Melbourne show, we present 3 shows a day, training horses for moving magic. And it's behind the scenes look at how we train horses for film and television.
Okay, and where would I have seen Dark Horse Productions handiwork?
You would have seen it from everything from, say, the ING commercial Hungry Jacks, Head and Shoulders, all the way through to Wolf Creek 2.
Some cool stuff there. Is this your first year at the show?
No, this is our 4th year at the show.
Yeah? And you're enjoying it so far?
We love the Melbourne show, yeah.
And last question. What's your favourite attraction of the show? Besides your own, of course.
Yeah, of course. I don't know if you call it an attraction, but we do love the dog agility.
Yeah, it is pretty great seeing what
Yeah.
those animals can do.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's getting close to the end of the day. I've put this off way too long. It's time to talk about the show bags. The most complicated aspects of planning your show bag is the timing. When do you do it? If you do it early in the day, you can get it over and done with and even snack on the candy through the day. But if you do, you'll be lugging around a heavy show bag all day in addition to everything else. I opted to pick mine up towards the end of the day. The Showbag Pavilion, a classic of the Melbourne show and a major draw. The 392 showbags to choose from this year may seem a little daunting at first, ranging from the cheapest Bertie Beetle to the extravagant Hepburn Springs collection, with Disney and Nickelodeon in the middle. But with a little research and planning, you'll find the one for you. If comparing the content of a show bag to the price of those individual pieces online doesn't sound like a fun afternoon to you, that's fine. You can browse to your heart's content inside the show bag pavilion. I just recommend looking at the components of the show bag for stuff that will last more than one use, or those things that you can't easily find in a supermarket. Lastly, and this is vital, do not stand in the middle of the pavilion reading from a script taking up everybody's space and confusing security. Oh wait. So, I've got my show bags, I picked up some spicy sauce from the Chili Factory, makers of the world's hottest chili sauce, and some honey from the Victorian Apiarists Association, a group of Victorian bee farmers who produce a plethora of honeys. And there's still so much I didn't get to see and do. I missed the Country Women's Association and their wonderful scones, the Blue Ribbon Food and Animal Competition, the Woodshop competitions. I didn't get to see the Show Dogs and Cats or the Arts and Crafts Pavilion. I missed the High Dive Stunt Show, the Dirt Bike Stunt Show, and I left before the fireworks display. I guess I'll just have to come back tomorrow. As I leave the showgrounds, sitting on the crowded train listening to the excited children showing off their goodies, exhausted parents and grandparents just letting them run up and down the carriage, I'm left to ponder only one question. Who did they bribe to get such good weather?